My family dismissed my dream of becoming a welder for years. When I refused to skip my exam for my golden boy brother, my mom called me selfish. I walked out and never went back. They say the deepest cuts don't bleed, they just settle in your bones, quiet and heavy, until one day you realize your own family didn't just overlook you, they erased you on purpose. For me, that truth hit not with a scream, but with a folded letter delivered like a wedding invite, telling me my room had been given away to my brother. My name's Ethan, and last month, I passed my welding certification exam, the culmination of 7 years of graveyard shifts, burnt hands, and flashcards memorized in the glow of a headlamp at 4 a.m. 7 years of being the kid who grinds, not the one who glides. The night before that exam, the single most important morning of my life, my mom walked into the kitchen, stirred her tea, and said, "Your brother needs help moving his couch." I wish I were joking. Growing up, I didn't think I was invisible. It was subtler than that, like water seeping into the foundation, slow, silent, structural. My older brother, Liam, his name was painted above his bed with stars and a football. Mine, peeling wallpaper and a bunk bed that groaned like it was begging for mercy. Liam dropped out of college, bounced between gym jobs and crypto schemes, maxed out dad's credit card, and still got backyard barbecues for trying. I made the dean's list. Mom glanced at the email and said, "That's nice, honey. Can you take the trash out?" I wasn't brilliant. I was stubborn. The kind who learns by doing it wrong 20 times, then once right. But in our house, Liam could sneeze and get praised for lung capacity. I could bleed from grinding steel and get asked why I was making a mess. Nana, Dad's mom, was the only one who saw me. She called me Maze the Maker because I built things out of scrap, leftovers, broken parts. When she died at 17, the last buffer between me and the family machine vanished. After that, I was just the spare son, the backup, the one who always had time, because dreams only counted if they came with a suit or an Instagram following. So when Liam's latest relationship imploded and he needed to move into a walk-up duplex 26 minutes out of town, of course he waited until the night before my exam to ask. I was on the living room floor, notes spread like sacred texts, pipe angles, safety protocols, gas mixtures. He strolled in like he still lived there, tossed a sock at my leg, and said, "Yo, Maze. Couch is a beast. Tomorrow morning." I looked up. "Tomorrow's my welding test." He paused. "Oh, right. You're still doing that. Still doing that." I glanced at Mom in the kitchen. She hadn't moved. Hadn't even looked at me. "I've been studying for months," I said, careful, calm. "It's at 8 a.m. This is the practical. I can't reschedule for 7 months." Liam shrugged. "Dude, it's one morning. I'm not asking for a kidney." Then Mom turned. Soft voice. That calm voice, the one she used right before dropping a bomb. "Honey, your brother's trying to build a real life. He can't do it alone." My hands went cold. "I'm not." She didn't argue. Just gave me that tired, disappointed look, like I was being dramatic for daring to put myself on the same scale as Liam. "I just think you could skip it. There'll be other tests." I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so unbelievable. "I already paid. You can't reschedule. This is my shot." She set her mug down, hard. "So you're saying no?" "I'm saying I can't. I won't." That's when she snapped. "He's trying to create something for himself. You're just playing pretend with your little metal toys." "Welding? Really? Do you think that's a real job? Do you think that'll take care of you?" Every muscle in me wanted to shrink, to apologize, to fold. But something else rose, sharp, hot, unfamiliar. I stood up. Didn't yell. Didn't beg. Just gathered my notes, walked past Liam, and went to my room. Dad, silent in the hallway, scrolling his phone like the world wasn't ending. That night, I barely slept. Wrestled with guilt. Was I selfish? Should I have just helped? Then it hit me. How many times had I bent? Said yes. Put myself second, so Liam could be first again and again and again. So I packed. Not everything. Just the essentials. My boots, helmet, notes, and that old sweatshirt with the burnt sleeves from rewiring a barn roof last summer. At 2 a.m., I closed the front door, quietly, and drove off in my beat-up Civic. Slept in the car. Passed my exam the next morning. I thought that was it. They'd ignore me for a while. Wait for me to crawl back with an apology and a wrench. But no, because I hadn't just left. I'd pulled the last thread holding their whole fragile house of cards together. And without me to prop it up, it started to collapse. The silence was deafening. No texts. No calls. Not even Dad's rare thumbs-up emoji. Then, Liam messaged, "Didn't expect you to actually flake. Nice. Know how'd it go? No congrats. Just that." A week later, the guilt tour began. "Mom, you've made your point. Could you please stop punishing your family for loving you?" I stared at it. Put the phone down. Punishing them? For choosing myself? For refusing to let them call my life pretend? Then Aunt Claire called. Mom's sister, sweet but distant. "Ethan, your mom's in tears. Says you cursed her out and stormed off. That you're having a rebellious episode. Staying with strangers? I'm at Ryan's. My best friend since 6th grade. She's lying," I said, voice flat. I didn't yell. I just said I couldn't skip my exam. Then she told me I wasn't building a real life. Long pause. Well, that's not what she told the rest of us. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about pulling me back. It was about rewriting the story. In their version, Liam was the struggling hero. I was the bitter, ungrateful son who abandoned them. Clean. Simple. Convenient. I ended the call. 2 days later, Liam posted on Facebook. "Big thanks to the real ones who helped me move. Appreciate the love." Photo. Him, 2 gym buddies, grinning like he'd won an Oscar. Mom's comment. "So proud of you, sweetie. Starting your new life with integrity and grace." Grace. That word, grace, was the final nail. Not anger. Not sadness. Just clarity. They weren't going to understand. They didn't want to. They liked the story where I was the cautionary tale. The one who failed because he was too stubborn to see how lucky he was. I was done auditioning for a role I'd never get. So I got to work. Ryan hooked me up with a foreman at a fabrication shop. I walked in, certification in hand, sleeves stained, eyes tired but clear. The foreman looked at my burns, shook my hand, and said, "You'll fit right in." It wasn't glamorous. Gloves melted. Boots reeked of molten metal. Lunch was 10 minutes on gravel, staring at the sky. But for the first time, I wasn't faking. Then Dad called. We met at a diner halfway between our worlds. He looked exhausted. Liam got fired. Crypto thing blew up. Lease is up. He needs somewhere to stay. I waited. We were hoping he could move back. And maybe you too? Help with bills. There it was. They wanted me to fund Liam's comeback tour. I leaned back. Let me get this straight. He loses his job, blows his rent, and you want me to help pay the mortgage while he sleeps in his old room? Dad didn't answer. I just got certified. I'm finally working. I have a shot. And you want me to give that up for him? He's your brother. I looked him dead in the eye. So was I. I stood. Walked out. No tears. Just relief. But the real betrayal came in an envelope. Ryan handed it to me after work. Looks official. Inside, a typed notice on letterhead. Due to Liam's transition, we've enabled him to sublease your previous room. Please contact him directly to retrieve remaining items. Unclaimed items will be deemed forfeited by month's end. Signed, Liam. I sat on Ryan's curb for 20 minutes, rereading it. Not a typo. Not a mistake. Forfeited. Like I was a package left too long on the porch. That night, I lay on Ryan's pullout, facing the wall, and let the weight crush me. Then, Ryan turned off the TV. Okay, tell me what happened. And I did. Every ugly, humiliating detail. He listened, then said 3 words that rewired my brain. Maze, they're not your family anymore. They're your origin story. It hit like a steel beam. I wasn't a broken piece trying to fit. I was meant to build my own table. The next morning, I asked for extra shifts. Welded through blisters. Missed lunches. Threw myself into the heat, the noise, the work. And slowly, quietly, it helped. 5 weeks in, the foreman pulled me aside. You've got an eye, Ethan. And patience. That's rare. He started pairing me with new guys, teaching arcs, checking joints, guiding without yelling. I bought new gear. High-end gloves. A helmet that didn't fog. Custom earplugs. Felt valued. Then, I got my own place. A studio the size of a garage. Heater worked. Water pressure was strong. Morning sun hit the scrapyard outside just right. I stood in the center. Mattress, folding table, nothing else, and felt something I hadn't in years. Peace. Mine. All mine. No announcement. No fanfare. Just me, stacking bricks. One night, I saw Mom at a gas station. Same tired coat. Same messy bun. I watched her fill up. Felt the old pull. Go say something. Ask why? But I didn't. I let her drive away. Because I'd learned. Closure isn't a door someone else opens. Sometimes, it's you standing outside and choosing not to knock. Ryan showed up with a dented microwave and a battle-scarred plastic plant. We ate burritos on the floor. I told him my idea: mobile welding, custom work, repairs, on my terms. He grinned. Maze the maker, back at it. I started saving, researching rigs, permits, insurance. Then Liam called. Look, I know things got weird. Mom freaks out. I didn't mean for you to lose your room. You signed the letter. Silence. I'm trying, man. Got a remote job. Cleaning things up. I didn't argue. Didn't rage. Just hung up. Because the real power wasn't in fighting back. It was in not needing them at all. I bought an old Ford F-250. Ugly, rusted, but with a heart like iron. Roland, the mechanic, said, Kid, this truck's uglier than my first divorce, but it'll outlive us both. Sold. Ryan and I painted it matte black. Built racks. Designed a logo over beers. Ethan Works metal. Simple. True. I got licensed. Filed permits. Dug through red tape like it was therapy. Then I went home. Not to talk. Not to cry. To retrieve. Texted Liam. I'll be by Saturday for my things. Don't touch them. Sure. Basement. Basement. Not even my old room. I pulled up in the truck. House looked smaller. Sad. Liam answered in gym shorts. Same smirk, same time warp. I walked past him. Basement smelled like mold and old grief. My boxes, dusty, crumpled. Boots tossed on top like trash. I packed slowly. Helmet. First gloves. Photo of Nana. Trade school schematics. No one came down. Upstairs, TV laughter. Mom's voice, light and easy. Before I left, I slipped an envelope into the kitchen junk drawer. Heavy cardstock. Embossed logo. Ethan Works metal. Mobile welding and fabrication. Now serving Oakview. Let them find it. A few days later, Aunt Claire called again. Your mom posted about your business on Facebook. She's so proud. I almost dropped the phone. Not a word to me. Just a public performance. Then, Dad texted. Photo of my truck at a job site. Looks good. Your grandfather would have liked this. No apology. But it didn't need one. Because the next call changed everything. Raul, my old co-worker, connected me with a construction company. First real contract. Ethan Works metal on the invoice. When the check cleared, I printed it. Pinned it next to the crumpled, forfeited letter. One said gone. The other said paid in full. Then, Beth called. Neighborhood Association. Oakview expansion. We need custom railings. Gate restoration. Your name came up. I got the job. For weeks in, I'm unloading steel at dawn. A voice cuts through the quiet. Wait. Ethan. I turn. Mom. Starbucks cup. Pink leash. Liam beside her in joggers. They'd moved in. What are you doing here? She asks. I oversee metal fabrication for Oakview. I say, nodding to the railing behind me. Liam blinks. This is your company? I smile just a little. Yeah. Ethan Works metal. You might have heard of it. Their faces? Priceless. Later, Beth invites me to speak at the quarterly meeting. 40 people. Mom and Liam in the back. I talk for 5 minutes. About craft, about showing up, about building things that last. They clap. Even her. Afterward, Beth pulls me aside. The old HOA block. We're merging. We'll need a new maintenance lead. Full authority. Prioritization. Scheduling. I know what she's saying. Liam and Mom's unit? In the old block. I get the job. First ticket? Loose stair railing. Safety hazard. I mark it received. Then I let it sit. For weeks. Follow-ups come. Polite. Urgent. Elderly visitors. Stairs unsteady. Liam calls. I don't answer. When Beth asks, I say, backlog. Prioritizing residents who supported the work from day one. She nods. Makes sense. I finally go. Arrive late. Drill loud. Leave shavings on the walk. Do flawless work. Hand Mom the invoice. Full price. As I turn to leave, I say, casual, quiet. By the way, your upstairs faucet's leaking. Might want to fix that. She opens her mouth. I'm already walking away. That's when I saw it. The dawning horror in their eyes. I hadn't screamed. I hadn't posted. I hadn't demanded an apology. I just built. And now? Every railing they pass. Every gate they open. Every polished weld gleaming in the sun. I'm there. Not for them. Around them. Like a truth they can't ignore. Months later, Ryan and I sit outside my new shop. a real warehouse, 2 part-timers, a waiting list. He cracks a Pepsi. Did you imagine you'd go this far? I look around. At the truck, the bay doors, the quiet hum of work beginning. No, I say. Then I smile. But I always knew I'd leave them behind. And I did. Not with fire. With steel. With sweat. With a life. Mine. Welded, joint by joint, into something unbreakable. Assistant B, the night before the biggest test of my life, my mom looked me dead in the eye and said, "Your brother needs help moving his couch." And in that moment, it hit me like a punch. My future didn't matter to them as much as Liam's comfort did. When I was 16, I honestly thought my family was just a little dramatic. Loud. Proud. Emotionally clumsy. The kind of family that argues too much and then pretends it never happened at dinner. But by the time I was 24, I finally understood something uglier. Some families don't accidentally hurt you. They aim. My name's Ethan, and I passed my welding certification exam last month. It took me 7 years to get there. 7 years of odd jobs, late nights, and early mornings in community college. 7 years of breathing in steel fumes, burning through cheap gloves, and falling asleep with flashcards on my chest because my brain couldn't keep going. I'm not the naturally gifted, everything comes easy kind of guy. I'm the grinded out kind. The kind who wakes up at 5 a.m., learns by repetition, and keeps going even when it's boring and painful and nobody's cheering. And the night before the exam, the single most important day of my life, my mom tried to pull me away from it like it was nothing. But I guess I should have seen it coming. I didn't grow up thinking I was the invisible kid. It didn't start with some big moment where they announced, "Hey Ethan, you're not as important." It was more like a slow leak under the floorboards. Quiet at first, easy to ignore. And then one day you realize the whole foundation is warped. My older brother Liam was always the favored child. Always. He was 4 years older, and somehow he was always 3 steps ahead in my parents' minds, even when he was standing still. When he was a kid, my parents literally painted his name on the wall above his bed. Big letters. With a little football and 2 stars on either side, like he was already a legend. I shared a room with peeling wallpaper and a bunk bed that groaned like it wanted to collapse out of protest. When Liam graduated high school, my parents threw him a backyard cookout. People came over. There were balloons, speeches, photos, the whole thing. When I made the dean's list my first semester, my mom glanced at the email and said, "That's nice, honey. Can you take the trash out?" That was the difference in my house. Liam got celebrations. I got chores. Liam didn't even stick with school. He bounced around jobs like a leaf in the wind. Gym receptionist. Real estate. Something with crypto that never made any sense. And at some point he accidentally maxed out my dad's second credit card. Meanwhile, I was working weekend shifts at a scrapyard, coming home smelling like rust and sweat, studying during breaks because I didn't have time anywhere else. I'd sit on overturned buckets near stacks of metal, flipping through notes while guys around me smoked and joked and called me college boy. Welding wasn't glamorous. It wasn't clean. It wasn't the kind of thing you could post online and get people clapping for you. But I liked it. I liked the honesty of it. You either do it right or you don't. The joint holds or it fails. No pretending. At home, though, it didn't matter what I liked. In my house, Liam could breathe wrong and my parents would compliment his lung capacity. I could come home with cracked hands, bleeding in 2 spots, and my mom would ask why I was making a mess. It wasn't all terrible. I had one person who saw me. My Nana. My dad's mom. She was the only one who noticed me as a person instead of a utility. She used to call me Maze the Maker because I was always building stuff. Little things, mostly. Fixing broken stools. Making a shelf out of leftovers. Turning random scrap into something useful. She'd look at me like I was a miracle just because I was trying. Then she died when I was 17. And whatever thin little barrier I had between me and the family hierarchy died with her. After that, I became the spare son. The assistant. The errand runner. The one who always has time. Because to them, having goals didn't count unless you wore a suit or talked about it on Instagram. Then last year, Liam moved into a fancy apartment with his girlfriend. It was the kind of place he couldn't really afford, but he always lived like the rules didn't apply to him. He acted like he was on his way to bigger things, like the world was just waiting to crown him. And then, shocker, it fell apart. He and the girlfriend split. The apartment was too expensive. He decided to downsize. That downsize was a duplex about 26 minutes outside town. Second floor walk up, narrow stairs, and a couch that looked like it weighed as much as his ego. But he didn't mention the couch. Not until the night before my exam. I remember exactly where I was. Cross-legged on the living room carpet with my notes spread out like some kind of desperate shrine. Pipe angles, safety rules, welding symbols, the practical test requirements. My brain was fried, but I was pushing through because passing that exam meant everything. It meant I could stop scraping by. It meant I could finally say, I did it, and have it actually be real. Then Liam walked in like he still lived there. Even though he'd moved out, he still treated the house like his stage. And honestly, his presence had a smell. Expensive cologne and entitlement. Yo, Maze, he shouted, like it was funny, and he tossed a rolled-up pair of socks at my leg like we were 12. I didn't even smile. I just stared. He dropped onto the couch, stretched out, and said, Need you tomorrow morning. Couch is a beast. I looked up at him. Tomorrow is my welding test. He paused like he had to dig through his brain to remember my life existed. Oh, he said casual. Right? You're still doing that. Still doing that. Like I was collecting bottle caps. Like I was playing some weird little hobby game. I glanced toward the kitchen because my mom was in there making tea. She hadn't said anything yet. She wasn't even looking at me. I tried to keep my voice calm. I've been studying for months. I have to be there at 8. This is the practical. Liam groaned. Dude, it's one morning. I'm not asking for a kidney. Then my mom finally turned around. And she didn't say, No, he has a test. She didn't say, Liam, ask a friend. She didn't even ask me how I was feeling. She gave me this soft, sweet voice. The one she uses when she wants to sound reasonable right before she does something cruel. Honey, she said, your brother is trying to build a real life. He can't do everything alone. My hands went cold. I said quietly, and I'm not. She didn't answer. She just gave me that tired look like I was being dramatic for even suggesting I deserved equal ground. Then she said it, calm as if it was no big deal. I just think you could reschedule. Or skip it. There'll be other tests. I actually laughed. Like a weird reflex, because it was so absurd I couldn't process it. I already paid for it, I said. You can't reschedule. If I miss this, it's another 7 months. My mom set her mug down harder than she needed to. So, she said, voice sharpening, you're saying no? I'm saying I can't, I told her. I'm saying I won't. And that's when she snapped. It was like a rubber band stretched too tight finally broke. He's trying to make something of himself, she yelled, pointing toward Liam like he was a wounded soldier. And you're sitting here playing pretend with your little metal toys. My stomach dropped. My face went hot. Then she went even lower. Welding? Really? Do you honestly think that's a real job? Do you think that's going to take care of you? Every part of me wanted to shrink back into the carpet. Wanted to apologize. Wanted to make peace. That's what I always did. That's how I survived. But something sharp rose up in my chest, and it surprised me. I stood up slowly. And for once, I didn't apologize. I didn't beg to be understood. I gathered my notes, walked right past Liam, and went to my room. My dad was in the hallway, like he usually is during conflict. Silent, scrolling on his phone, pretending not to hear his wife tear down his son's future. That night, I barely slept. I lay there staring at the ceiling, second-guessing myself. Maybe I was being selfish. Maybe I should help and reschedule. Maybe that's what a good son does. But then I started counting the number of times I'd bent. The number of yes I'd forced out of my mouth while swallowing my own needs. Also, Liam could be first. Again, and again, and again. Around 2 a.m., I got up and started packing. Not everything, just what mattered. My boots, my helmet, my notes, my favorite sweatshirt with burned sleeves from that summer job rewiring a metal barn roof. Then I left. No big announcement. No dramatic speech. Just the front door closing and the sound of my old Civic starting in the driveway. I slept in my car that night. And the next morning, I passed my welding exam. I thought that would be the end of it. I figured they'd do what they always do. Ignore me, pretend I was being dramatic, and wait for me to come crawling back with an apology and a toolbox. But what actually happened was worse in a different way. Because when I left, I didn't just leave the house. I pulled out the final thread that was holding their little family fantasy together. And without me there to cover the cracks, their house of cards started to wobble. I just didn't realize it yet. For the next few days after the exam, I was in this strange limbo. Exhausted but proud. like my body was running on fumes, but my soul finally had proof that I wasn't crazy for believing in myself. I didn't tell anyone at home. No text to mom. No call to dad. No, hey, I passed. It felt too sacred to hand it over to people who would shrug and ask if I'd considered a business degree. I stayed with my friend Ryan, who I've known since middle school. I crashed on his couch, drank too much coffee, and let myself imagine a life that belonged to me for the first time in years. I expected my family to reach out eventually. Maybe not with love, but at least with concern. Something. Nothing. Not even a thumbs-up emoji from my dad, which is basically his whole emotional vocabulary. The only message I got was from Liam. 2 days later. Didn't expect you to actually flake. Nice. No, how'd the test go? No congrats. No acknowledgement of the years I'd poured into this. Just that. I didn't respond. A week later, my mom tried a different angle. The guilt angle. You've made your point. Can you please stop punishing your family for loving you? I stared at that message for a full minute before setting my phone down. Punishing them. For loving me. The audacity was almost impressive. But I didn't reply, because I finally understood something. They were never going to see it my way. And the second I started explaining myself again, I'd be back in that old role. The one who performs reasonable, while they do whatever they want. I should have known silence wouldn't be enough for them. They needed control. They needed the story to end the way they wanted. The next morning, I got a call from my Aunt Claire, my mom's sister. We weren't close, but she was always polite. Distant smile at Thanksgiving, kind of nice. I picked up expecting small talk. Instead, she let out this big sigh like she'd been carrying my mom's emotions all morning. Ethan, she said, I just got off the phone with your mother. What is going on? I sat up straighter. What do you mean? She's in tears, Claire said. Says you've gone completely off the rails. That you cursed her out and stormed out in the middle of the night. Ethan, you know she's been through a lot lately. You can't just abandon your family. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was insane. That's what she told you. I asked. Claire sounded uncomfortable. She said you're having some rebellious episode. That you're staying with strangers and refusing to come home. Strangers? I repeated. I was on Ryan's couch. Ryan, who has more family in his pinky than I felt in half the hugs I got growing up. She's lying. I said, my voice going cold. I didn't swear at anybody. I said I couldn't miss my certification exam. Then she screamed that welding isn't a real life. So I left. There was a long pause. Then Claire cleared her throat. Well, that's not what she told the rest of us. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't just about dragging me back home. They were rewriting the narrative. In their version, I was unstable, ungrateful, dramatic, the screw-up son who ran away. And Liam stayed the hero, the struggling golden boy who just needed support. I ended the call soon after. I wasn't rude, but I didn't soften it either. Claire didn't argue back. She didn't want to get involved. People like her never do. They just want the peace to return, even if it means someone else gets crushed. 2 days later, Liam posted a photo on Facebook. Big thanks to all the real ones who showed up and helped me move. Appreciate the love. In the picture, he's standing next to 2 gym buddies, smiling like he just got cast in a movie. My mom commented, so proud of you, sweetie. Starting your new life with integrity and grace. Grace. Integrity. I stared at that screen and felt something inside me go quiet. Not rage. Not grief. Clarity. They were never going to understand. Worse, they didn't want to. They preferred the story where I was the bitter failure and Liam was the shining star. It was easier. Cleaner. It let them keep doing what they'd always done without guilt. And I wasn't going to play my role anymore. That week, I started making moves. Ryan introduced me to someone at a fabrication shop across town. The pay wasn't amazing, but it was steady, and they needed welders who actually knew what they were doing. I walked in with my certification and a fire in my gut. The foreman shook my hand, glanced at the burns on my sleeves, and said, "You'll fit right in." The work was rough. I burned through gloves fast. By day 3, my boots smelled like molten metal, and my lunch breaks were 10 minutes of silence in a gravel lot, letting my hands stop shaking from the vibration. But for the first time in years, nobody could tell me I was pretending. I was doing it, earning it, and still from home. Nothing. No congrats. No how's the job. Just silence. Except for the occasional text from my mom that sounded like a passive-aggressive greeting card. Family isn't supposed to be this hard. You used to have such a kind heart. Don't let strangers turn you against your blood. They loved that word, family, when it benefited them. Then, about 4 weeks into my new job, my dad called. Not texted. Called. And his voice sounded off. "We need to talk in person," he said. I hesitated, but something about him sounded tired in a way I hadn't heard before. So I agreed. We met at a diner halfway between Ryan's place and my parents' house. I showed up in work boots and a hoodie I hadn't washed in 3 days. Dad walked in wearing his old jacket, looking like he hadn't slept. We sat across from each other. The silence was heavy. Then Dad said it. "Your brother got fired." I just stared. Dad rubbed his face. "Crypto nonsense. He made some stupid decisions. Spent more than he made. His lease fell through. He needs somewhere to stay." I nodded slowly. "Okay, so he's moving back home." Dad's jaw tightened. "Yes." I almost laughed. Almost. Because of course Liam could come home. Of course the golden child could return to the nest no matter what he destroyed. Then Dad cleared his throat. "Thing is, your mother and I were hoping you could move back too. Help out with bills. Chip in." And there it was. The real reason. They wanted me to bankroll Liam's comeback tour. I leaned back in the booth. "Let me get this straight. He blows his rent, loses his job, and now you want me to help pay the mortgage while he sleeps in his old bed and rebuilds in the living room." Dad didn't deny it. He just looked down at his hands. "I just got certified," I said, voice tight. "I'm finally working. I finally have a shot. And you want me to give that up for him?" "He's your brother," Dad said quietly. "He needs us." I looked him right in the eye. So did I. Then I stood up and walked out. I didn't cry in the car. I didn't cry back at Ryan's. But something in me loosened, like a knot finally untied. I was done auditioning for a role I'd never get. Then came the betrayal that still makes my stomach twist, even now. It didn't come as a text or a call. It came as a letter. A physical letter. The kind you have to open with your hands. I got home from work one evening, and Ryan handed it to me. Eyebrows pulled together. "Looks official," he said. "From your parents." I opened it with grease-stained fingers. Inside was this typed notice on letterhead. Not quite legal, but trying hard to sound like it. It basically said, "We've decided it's time to make financial changes. Since Liam is in transition, we've allowed him to sublease your previous room. Please coordinate with him to retrieve any remaining belongings. Items unclaimed by the end of the month will be considered forfeited." I read it 3 times. They gave Liam my room. Without asking. Without warning. Without even pretending I mattered. And the cherry on top? Liam's signature at the bottom in blue ink, like he was signing off on a business deal. I didn't even go inside right away. I sat on Ryan's porch for 20 minutes staring at that letter, trying to convince myself I misunderstood. That it was a joke. A messed up prank. Some clumsy attempt to force me to come back. But it wasn't. It was real. Typed. Signed. Mailed with intent. They erased me again like I was a placeholder until the real kid needed space. I sat down on the curb with my arms on my knees, and the letter crumpled in my fist. That was my rock bottom. Not the room. Not even the stuff. It was rephrased the following story in a natural, emotionally powerful, and conversational tone, optimized for a narrated personal story video format on platforms like YouTube, while the length of the rephrased story must be near to the original script. It should be near or slightly longer, but not shorter than the original. Instructions. Start with a 1 to 2 sentence emotional hook that immediately grabs attention, hinting at intense conflict, injustice, a shocking twist, or a significant turning point, like betrayal or a moment of comeuppance. This hook must feel like a compelling opener that makes listeners want to continue. In the hook, use strong emotional words or punchy, dramatic language, e.g., conveying anger, sadness, shock, satisfaction, or disbelief. Retell the core story. Keep all important events and narrative progression from the original. Clearly depict the escalation of conflict through specific incidents, as seen in successful dramatic stories. Remove only small, unnecessary details that do not advance the plot or emotional arc to improve pacing and focus. Aim for a similar overall length to the original, but prioritize natural flow and emotional impact over hitting an exact word count. Use short, punchy sentences at key emotional or dramatic moments. Vary sentence length throughout to maintain a natural and engaging rhythm. Emphasize the protagonist's emotions, the core conflicts, and the key turning points in the narrative strongly. Focus on their emotional journey and perspective. Write as if you are recounting the story to a close friend. The tone should be casual yet intense, feeling authentic and relatable. Focus on specific characters and situations from the story to evoke drama, e.g., my boss, my friend, at the party. When this happened, do not embed generic platform or SEO keywords, like Reddit story, within the narration itself. Also make sure not to write any word in bold font throughout the story, and do not highlight any word with bold fonts. Conclude the story with a powerful final moment, a satisfying resolution, if applicable, or a reflective lesson learned. Input. When I was 16, I thought my family was just a little dramatic. Not damaged, but loud, proud, and emotionally clumsy. But by the time I was 24, I realized that some families do not intentionally damage you. They aim. My name is Ethan, and I passed my welding certification exam last month. It took 7 years of odd jobs, late nights, and early mornings in community college to get there. 7 years of sweating through steel fumes and clutching flashcards until my hands were too weary to handle a coffee cup. And the night before my exam, the single most crucial day of my life, my mother approached me in the kitchen and said, "Your brother needs help moving his couch." I wish that was a joke. I did not grow up believing I was the invisible one. It merely started gradually, like a water leak beneath the floorboards. My older brother, Liam, was always the favored child. He was the child who had his name painted on the wall above his bed, along with a small football and 2 stars on either side. But I shared a room with peeling wallpaper and a bunk bed that groaned like it was demanding to be taken down. Liam was 4 years older than me and always seemed to be 3 steps ahead. My parents had a backyard cookout for him shortly after he graduated from high school. When I made the dean's list my first semester, Mom looked at the email and said, "That's nice, honey. Can you take the trash out?" Liam didn't do much school. He moved between occupations like a leaf in the wind. Gym receptionist, then real estate, then something involving cryptocurrencies that never made sense, and finally accidentally maxing out his father's second credit card. Meanwhile, I worked weekend shifts at a scrapyard and studied during breaks because welding and sleeping were not my strong suits. I am not the brilliant kind. I'm the grinded-out kind who wakes up at 5 a.m. and learns by repetition. But in my house, Liam might breathe incorrectly and be complimented for his lung capacity. I might be bleeding from both hands and be asked why I was causing a mess. It wasn't entirely terrible, I suppose. My Nana, Dad's mother, was the only one who seemed to notice me. She used to nickname me Maze the Maker because I was always making things, even from leftovers.